Hey Com students, Dr. Sloan here with a quick tutorial, well maybe not so quick, a tutorial about how to prepare an APA style paper. This is a two-part video because I only have a limited amount of time for recording free videos on Screencast-O-Matic. In this part one video, I'm going to address outlining and practicing organized writing. A lot of you guys lost points this last week on your papers because you weren't practicing the skill of being an organized writer, and you lost points for APA style as well. So instead of leaving you to kind of figure that out, I've created this video so you know what I'm looking for when I say I want to see organized writing in APA style. So the biggest thing that I really want for you guys to be learning right away is the importance of taking a minute to outline what you want to say before you start writing. And some of you think you're excellent writers and you make your point just fine, but when you don't establish what you want to write before you start writing, it just comes out as stream of consciousness writing. And that's a waste of my time, and that's a waste of your time because you aren't practicing effective writing skills. So instead of stream of consciousness, instead of just writing as you go, take a second and organize your thoughts. So to show you what I mean by outlining, I'm not talking about an extensive outline, just a minute or two on a blank piece of paper or your computer or scrap piece of paper to think through what you want to write before you start writing. Again, to demonstrate this, I'm going to outline for you what I would write about if I were writing a paper for this topic, to think critically about a television show or film. So this writing prompt asks you to select any TV show or film and critically evaluate the positive or negative messages that show promotes. So I've recently started watching a TV show called Fresh Off the Boat, and the premise or the show's kind of context is it follows this Chinese family who lived, I think, in DC and has moved to Orlando, Florida. And so it kind of just is a funny show that follows the trials of what it is to be an, kind of a Chinese clan and then thrown into this totally white, affluent, non-diverse culture in Orlando. So when I establish my purpose, it's really simple for this assignment because I have already told you what your purpose is. It is to critically evaluate the positive and negative messages of the TV show or film you're interested in writing about. So when you are writing your purpose in thesis statement form, it's as simple as showing intentionality. So it's not just any sentence. It's the sentence that says, here is my purpose. Here is what I will accomplish in this paper, in this essay, in this memo, in this speech. So you need to show intentionality in the language in which you write your thesis. An example thesis would be, in this paper, I explore the positive and negative messages in Fresh Off the Boat. That's very simple and straightforward. The reader isn't wondering what you're trying to accomplish with your writing, and it addresses what the paper will actually be about. That's the kind of clean, organized writing I'm looking for. Then what I really want to see you do is identify your 2 to 4 main points before you start writing. So for me, I'm going to write about both positive and negative messages in the show. I think one of the big positive messages in Fresh Off the Boat is that it explores the differences in people. So we have different races and different cultures, and that's cool and that's positive. And so I think that's a positive message that the show promotes all that stuff. I think a negative message in the show is that we repeatedly see this family try to fit in or fit the mold. And I think that's negative. Why can't people just be different and be unique? Why do they have to try to fit in at all? And then I think the core message of the show is actually mostly positive, which is that the American dream is for everyone. And that's because Americans come in all forms, all sizes, all races, all religions, and all sexual orientations. And so the fact that the American dream of providing for your family and all of that stuff, that's for everyone, I think is at the core of the show, and that's cool. So now that I know my main points, I would bring those together in a simple sentence known as a preview. This content, an example preview might be, again, a preview statement follows a thesis. So I might say something like, more specifically, I discuss a positive, negative, and core message of the show. So now you as the reader know there are 3 topics I will address in my paper. A positive message, a negative message, and a core message of the show. It's as simple as that. The last thing that I would do in terms of outlining is think through what sources I would use. Of course, I would want to use the textbook in my writing. I would definitely look for maybe an outside source that talked about cultures blending and trying to fit in, because that would fit with the theme of what I'm writing about. And then certainly I can use the TV show as a third source. So I might quote how Eddie, one of the kids on the show, is trying to fit in his grade school class or middle school class. And so that would be another quote that I could incorporate into my paper. All right, so now that we've looked at this idea of outlining, next we're going to look at how to practice this idea of organized writing. So I've kind of shown you how to get going on that. The first line of your content page is the title of your paper, and that's not bolded. And then you'll begin your introduction paragraph with some kind of attention-grabbing sentence. So draw the reader in, make them interested in your topic. And you can feel free to support your attention-grabbing sentence with another sentence or 2, or another claim, or information, or data. And then the second to last sentence of your introduction is your thesis, where you say, here is what I will do in this paper. And the sentence after your thesis is a preview. Here is specifically what I will write about. So I've already done that because I took a minute to outline my paper. So already I know here is my thesis and here is my preview. And then based on the order of which I list things in my preview, that is the order of the headings in my paper, okay? Notice that headings are bolded and centered. The title is not, and the reference page title is not. So titles of pages are not bolded, titles or headings are bolded and centered. And this is not yet formatted in APA style. I don't use blue ink. I don't have all these spaces. This isn't doubled space. I'll address formatting in part 2 of this video. So accomplishing this, reading this, and accomplishing that would be a very organized introduction paragraph. Then I would move over here to my first main point and note that my first sentence of my first sentence of every paragraph should be front loaded, okay? So by front loading, I'm trying to find, I think I wrote that sentence. Oh, I know where I wrote it. Okay, sorry for that confusion. So every paragraph that I write, the first sentence of the paragraph should kind of summarize and connect all the dots of that paragraph. So if my first main point is about the positive messages, or the positive message of how Fresh Off the Boat shows differences of culture, then my first sentence of the paragraph, I'm sorry I keep doing that, might be, in the television show Fresh Off the Boat, the central positive message is that people can be different and thrive. Note that I introduced the acronym TV, even though it's a really common thing. TV stands for the word television. So make sure that we're always introducing things like CDC and FDA with the full phrase or title before we use an acronym. So I'm looking for this skill as well, that you guys are front loading your sentences before you begin writing, for each paragraph that you're front loading. So you can click pause and read all of this. That would be really helpful. I actually tell you how long paragraphs should be, break up paragraphs, new ideas go to new paragraphs, and that's the good use of headings, is I can discuss differences in the show in multiple paragraphs, and the heading lets you know that I'm still kind of on that topic. And the last thing that you'll do in writing your paper is create an effective conclusion. The first sentence of your conclusion is a restatement of your thesis. The second sentence of your conclusion is a review of your main points. So that is as simple as copying this and coming down here and saying paste. and then you can change the words. I do a lot. So instead of in this paper, I might say in this argument or whatever you want to do, but you don't have to. You could literally copy and paste, just make the verbs past tense because you already discussed and explored those topics. And then you want to end your conclusion with a memorable final thought or summative thought about what you've claimed or argued in your paper. So I know this seems really obvious, but this is where you guys lost points on, a lot of you lost points on this first paper. And so I wanted to explain what I'm looking for. When I say I want to see organized writing, take a minute to outline and accomplish what you've seen me do here, and that would really hit that mark of being organized, articulate writers. So join me again in a minute for part 2 of this tutorial, where I'm going to address more of the APA style and formatting in Word so that it complements what you're supposed to do in APA style. All right, tune in a second.